Welcome back to Get Shit Done, where we take female entrepreneurs from inspiration to activation. I don't know about you guys, but I feel like every time I see a story about an entrepreneur, it's always about how much money they raised. And look, I understand I raise capital, but I think it's dangerous when we start creating this narrative that successful entrepreneurs raise capital. So on this episode, I bring back the fabulous Tiffany Aliche of Budgetnista. And remember, y'all, not only does she have one business, but she has three, each of them doing between 6 and 7 figures in revenue and growing at a catastrophic rate. So today she's going to walk you through the 5 ways that you can grow your company without taking money from investors. Okay, so you have 3 businesses.
And a nonprofit.
And a nonprofit. That's crazy.
It is. I don't even know. Even hearing
but
it.
Systems help you do all of that.
Yes.
But it still blows my mind. You have one that's 7 figures, and the other ones are doing super well. I remember we were talking. Your goal for anyone on your team is everyone, the average, even if they're an admin, is to make 6 figures.
Yeah, so that's our audacious. We have 3 audacious goals that we set for 2000. We set in 2018 to come to fruition in 2020. Audacious goal number 1 is to serve 100,000 women inside of our online school. Audacious goal number 2 is to give away $1 million by 2020 back to the very community we serve. We call them dream catchers. That's the name of our community. And audacious goal number 3 is to get the average salary, whether you're full-time, part-time or not, the average salary. We have a whole, Rachel, my CFO, created this system, but the average salary to 6 figures. I asked them, what would you want to make? And they were all like, especially mostly women on the team, I don't know.
You're so modest. Oh.
I said, you want to make 6 figures? And they were like, I'm like, do you want to make 6 figures? And they were like, yes. I said, well, that's our goal. So we worked backwards. Once we knew that was our goal, Rachel and I have been working for months to figure out, okay, so what does the company have to make in order for these things to come to fruition? And the number right now anyway is about $15 million a year.
Yeah.
So we're like 1/3 of the way there.
Yeah.
So it's so how now becomes how do we now scale to that? But now everyone on the team, from the intern to the admin to the CEO to the CMO and so all of us are now invested in, now that we know the number, and every week the numbers are displayed so we know exactly where we are. How do we get there? And I love that.
And I like that the goals weren't necessarily just, let's make this much money. Because I think that that's not a good enough North Star.
Yeah.
Because you can make money doing anything.
Yeah.
I always tell people, I'm like, Poopery made $1 billion off of your shit.
Yeah.
Like, for real.
Yeah.
You can make money doing anything. So it's like, beyond that, what is important? Because those are the things that really keep you moving. The fact that you want to help people make X amount of money. It's like, those are the things you fight for. So we talked about this. We're in this stage now with so many different startups. There's this acceleration of them just popping up. So many people are raising money. You have shows like Shark Tank. The sad thing is that the media creates the narrative. And they don't realize when they do that, you now shift it to, and any entrepreneur that's coming in is thinking, in order for me to be successful, I need to take on investors. Yeah. And I raise capital from investors. And I always tell people, if you don't need to, don't do it. Because what's better than owning a part of your company? 100%. Yep. It really is. And so I want people to know that it's not just raising money from investors to succeed. And actually, before you can talk to an investor, unless you're a trust fund baby and probably a white male, you're not going to get a check from an investor coming out the gate. Yep. So you still have to do some of the work anyway, even if you do choose to take that route. Why did you choose not to take money from investors? And you have 3 profitable, successful businesses, one 7 figures, you're gonna get to 8 figures at some point. Like, what was your decision making behind that?
I didn't even think about it. It wasn't, how some things are not even on the table. It didn't even occur to me to because I'm like, well, one, I wouldn't know the first step in doing so. Yeah. And 2, it just wasn't, I intrinsically knew, not me. You know what I mean? You know how it's almost like you can look at a brand and they're not talking to me. Yeah. That's for the white girl. Yeah. That's for the white guy. That's not, so it wasn't even something that I considered. And so, I knew that I was going to be building from the ground up. Like, I mean, I think like if you can call him that, my ex-boyfriend, I remember, loaned me $250 and I bought a netbook. That was like, it's basically like a glorified cell phone. It's a laptop, if you could even call it that.
Yeah.
Right? And so I did, on my first 2 years of business, on that little netbook, and then he wanted his money back. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, I raised you.
I raised you.
Right? If you're watching,
I raised you. I'm going to know.
But yeah, so that was like the one kind of like infusion of money that I ever got for my business, was to borrow money from him to get that computer.
And I love the fact that you still have a goal. In order to hit your third audacious goal, you have to get to 15 million in order to have the average salary 6 figures in your company, or for anyone. And most companies, or a lot of companies that are getting to that point today, are taking on all of this investment.
And we don't need to.
And you don't need to. So I would love if you can walk the audience through what are the 5 top ways that you can still scale and grow and have a profitable business without taking on investors.
Well, one, be okay with moving slowly.
Yes,
you know?
slow grow is great.
Yeah,
There's
so
nothing wrong with slow grow.
The Budgetnista, like, so I registered the business in 2008, but I didn't do anything. It was just kind of like, oh, that's a cool name. And then, but 2010 is when I actually opened, like, for business, meaning like, hey, pay me $50 to do a budget for you, you know? And so, but it was a slow grow. So I started with like one-on-ones that were like $50 to $100, and then from there I started to ask myself, well, even if I wanted to make $500 a month, so I did the math. 500 divided by 50, I'm gonna have to do, what is that, 10 of these a month, right? And so I was like, yeah, that's a lot, you know. So what if I could do 1 to few? So I started to figure out, well, if it could be one of me and more of them, what does that look like? So that's when I partnered with the United Way, and they were the first people to pay me a contract. So they paid me, I think it was like $500 a class. So now it's me and 10 people in the audience. I said, I like these odds, you know? And then I would do a class once a week. So instead of having to sit down with all these different people, I didn't have to sit down with 10 people a week to make $500. I had to sit down with 10 people at one time. And then I thought, well, if I could do 1-to-1, how do I go, and then 1 to few, how do I go to 1 to many? So I took that model, you know, so this is a slow grow. How could I know these things until you're experiencing them? I took that model of like teaching me to more to putting it online, because now it's an endless amount.
Yep.
And so now, you know, that company makes 6 figures a month. The Literature Academy makes 6 figures a month, and there's no cap to what it can make.
Yeah.
You know, we've got 15,000 students. You know, but I think this time last year maybe we had 7,000, and so we get 20, 30, 40,000 students. Now the possibilities are endless, you know?
Yeah.
And so slow grow is critical.
Yeah.
2, for figuring out how to have fun without an investor is become your own angel investor. So the Budgetnista started, and because I was, you know, doing the United Way, and I started getting speaking engagements, and I wrote some books, the Budgetnista was making a decent amount of money, maybe $200,000 or $300,000 a year, and I knew I wanted to start this online school, but I knew it needed money.
Yeah.
And so the Budgetnista, I was like, okay, who's gonna fund it? And so the Budgetnista led to the Literature Academy. I think it was like, I want to say maybe like $25,000 to get started, because I had to pay. I had to figure out the platform, design, classes, all of that, you know. And so for 6 months, and then also I had to hire people, because it's one thing, the Budgetnista can basically be run by myself, an admin, and maybe like Carlos, my accountant, you know, but not the academy. We needed customer support. We needed a manager. We needed all these things. And I was like, okay, I don't have money for that. You know, as the academy, it doesn't make any money. Yeah. So the Budgetnista lent money. I could not have started the academy first. Excuse me, because the Budgetnista it's a digital business. Well, not even a digital business. Like, the overhead for the Budgetnista is so low. It's just me showing up. Yeah. You know, it's like gas or train fare. Yeah. You know, so, but for the academy, there's overhead. Yeah. And so, lent to myself, or lent to the academy. Academy started making money, and then paid the Budgetnista back. So it's okay. I know someone else who did that. I think Arsha. I don't know if you know Arsha from she has this thing called Capital Mambo sauce. It's a DC sauce that's like a mix between barbecue sauce and like, I don't know. It's very DC, like how Philly has the cheesesteaks. Yeah. Mambo sauce is a DC like sauce. So it does really well. She's in like Whole Foods, I think. Is she in Whole Foods? No, I think she's gonna be in Papa John's soon or something to that effect. So she's doing really well with that. But in order to start that food company, she started something called Tea is in the Trap. And so Tees in the Trap was just a t-shirt company that had fun t-shirts with like different sayings, whatever, and it did well enough. But she purposely started it and funded her other her Capital Mambo Sauce business because it needed capital.
Oh yeah, especially products. Yeah.
You see what I mean? But where are you gonna get the money from? They're not gonna give it to her. I forgot what she did before. No experience in that at all. So she funded herself. And so you can fund yourself. Yeah. So figuring out a business with low overhead that you can quickly get up and running, you know, and then funding yourself is another way to fund your business. And also in the beginning when I funded the Budgetnista, I was babysitting, I was tutoring. So you can also fund your business from like a regular job. You know, a side hustle, you know?
And people so underestimate that because we have this whole thing, this culture now too. It's like, if you're not 100% in, then you're not really into it. You're not really trying to be successful. It's like, first of all, you don't pay my bills. So until you can do that, then it's okay to go and find a full-time job, part-time job.
I was just telling my sister this because she's wanting to make the switch to entrepreneurship, and I said, well, find you what I call a waitressing job. That's like a job where the hours are really flexible. You can easily be in and out. But it's also a job where the mental overhead is low. Meaning like, because where she works now, she hates it, and she has to take that work home with her, mentally, emotionally, and physically. You know, but with a waitressing job, you're like, bye. So, you know, because I'm like, you don't want to carry that with you. You're just here to get your check and then invest into your business, you know? And also thinking about taking on a partner. So the Budgetnista is 100% mine. I built it myself. But when I was doing the academy, I knew that I needed additional help. So I have a business partner, his name is Jabril. He's a marketing genius. And so we worked out not just a profit. In the beginning, it was just a profit share, but then an ownership share agreement. Where he owns a piece of the academy. In exchange, he does the marketing, drives all the traffic. And you know, so he's not an investor, he's an owner. He's a co-founder with me. Because he met me when I was doing the Budgetnista and said, I really think you should do this other thing. And I was like, well, he's like, I'll build it with you. And this is what I asked. And I said, okay. So we built that, and that partnership went so well, we built the third company, our marketing company. That's why we just got Dom Perignon from one of our partners, you know? And so that's because one of the marketing company, what it does is that people come to me all the time and say, hey, this is a great product or service. We'd love for you to like share it. And so, you know, so if it's the Budgetnista, if you're wanting me to be a spokesperson, I'm talking about Budgetnista. If you want me to sit, do a commercial, whatever. But if you're wanting me to drive traffic to a site or a link, that's the marketing company. And for me, it made sense. So I always remind the team that the companies are cousins, right? So the Budgetnista is cousins with the Literature Academy because the Budgetnista is the bedrock. That's who everyone knows that's who everyone's following. You know, that's where the trust is built. And then I take that trust and I transfer it to the Literature Academy, and take that trust and I transfer it to the marketing company. And it was so much so, I was working so hard on the academy. This is why I say you can't, not that you can't, but knowing that if you're splitting your attention, something's going to give. The Budgetnista, for the first time, made less than the year before. Not this year, but like last year. Because I was focused on getting the academy like up and running. And so what I realized was like, wow, okay. And so my CFO, Rachel's the one who had to convince me. She said, Tiffany, these businesses, these two sides, should be paying the Budgetnista because it's the Budgetnista's influence why they are able to manage, you know? And at first I was like fighting against it, like, no. She's like, no. She's like, the academy doesn't have any natural fans. Those are your fans. The marketing company is your face, right? It's your name. And so I said, okay, so now both those companies pay a percentage to the Budgetnista every month. And so that's another source of income for the Budgetnista. But do you see how it's all, you know, it's all circular? So there's so many ways that you can be creative with your funding, but it all comes down to one, not being afraid to make the money yourself if you have to. You know, two, not being afraid to grow slowly because we can only grow as fast as we have the money for. The first time that I started working with Jabril, my partner, he was like, we need to market because the Budgetnista, I was doing everything organically. I didn't know anything about. I knew how to market, but I didn't know how to market through social media, digital marketing, like intentional, like marketing that where you put money behind it, you know? And so he was like, wow, you did all this organically. Imagine if we put money on it. We could really scale. And I was like, okay. So he's like, you know what? I want to start with $30 a day. I was like, who has $30 a day? He was like, he couldn't believe it. He was like, are you kidding? I'm like, no. Who has $30 a day? He was like, okay, have you ever heard of affiliates? And I was like, no. And he was like, well, that's when, he said, Tiffany, I see you talk about this company, this company, this company. Have you ever been on their website? Did you know that they will pay you? Yo, I almost wept thug tears when I figured out that. I said, I couldn't believe it. I was like, there was one bank in particular that actually do like this online only bank that I love. That I created this online challenge. 10,000 women signed up, and one of the homework was to open up a savings account with them. Did not know at the time they were paying $25 a person that signed up. Yo, when I say, meanwhile the challenge I paid for that out of pocket, the money I did not have. 25. So 2,000 people signed up times $25. You do the math of how much money
Lord.
Y'all was like, even now to this day, meanwhile it's like 5 years ago, and I'm like,
I would still cry for that. Yeah, for real.
I had no money, and and so even like so he taught me how to use my influence and to cash it in to fund the business.
Yeah.
That's another way. So I was like, so that's one thing I had built. I was like, at the time, maybe my audience was about maybe, I don't know, 10, 15,000 people deep. That was 5 years of hard organic work,
Yeah.
So he was like, well, you're already sharing it. Use your link instead. He had me list all of the products and services that I liked and that I was sharing. And then we Googled affiliate partnership for.
Yeah.
And to see who already had, some of them have public, like Ebates, for example. I love Ebates,
Yeah.
I've made over 6 figures with Ebates, And, but Ebates has just a public system where anybody can go on ebates.com and sign up for the affiliate program, get your link, share it with your girlfriend.
Most companies have it.
Yeah, and some of them create them specially for us,
Yeah.
And so he's the one who taught me how to so I started sharing those companies as usual, but this time saying, use my link to sign up.
Yeah.
Use my link to sign up. And then it started to generate income. And that income, he was like, instead of us splitting this income that's coming in, let's reinvest it back in the company. So we made $30, put $30 back in. Made 60, put 60 back in.
Yeah.
Made 200. 2,000. And before I knew it, but you see how, so you can fund yourself. I mean, we started literally with $30, and then it grew because what happened was that we invested not just in direct return, like, hey, buy this book or buy this course or whatever. We also invested in growing the audience.
Yeah, you need awareness.
So as the audience grew, so did the amount of money we started making. Now, I remember the most we've made is I sent out one email and made over $100,000.
I believe it.
So much so the company called me. They said, please turn it off. I was like, it's an email. We didn't put any money on this ad. We could have made $500,000 in a day, but I don't think when they came to me and I said, well, do you understand what you're asking? Because you're paying us $25 for an affiliate is a lot. Typically affiliates are like 10 to maybe, $5 to like $10, per click or whatever. So when they said $25, I was like, and it was free. So usually when someone's paying you $25, your user has to pay for something.
Yeah.
But this was a free good thing.
How did they even set that up?
So I was like, and when they came to us, I was like, and meanwhile, this is like, the people running this company are like heads of like other major companies they came together. So I was like, they clearly don't even know. And I was like,
they don't know the power of your network.
So, so I was like, okay, so you're telling me to share with my audience this awesome free tool that I think is dope. And it was. And it's a free tool. Like, for real free. They don't ask you for your credit card, none of that. To share with my audience and say, hey, sign up for it. And you're going to give me $25 per person that signs up. And I remember Jabril saying, how much money y'all have? And they were like, we have enough. And he was like, no, for real. We have enough. He's like, so we had a contract, like, no matter the amount that it comes out to, we get paid. Yeah. And they were like, yeah. Because they didn't realize one email. No ads, no social posts, just one email.
Email's everything.
Yo, Tiffany, please. I was like, we spent their whole ad spend for the year with that one email.
Wow.
For the year. They had to drop every other influencer, whoever that they were working with.
That's incredible.
They're like, we don't have any more money for y'all. But they also were able to go to their investors and be like,
we need some more money.
Not just that, but like, look what we did, right? And so Jabril also taught me, and this is something interesting because women don't think this. This is why I love having a male business partner. Yeah. He was like, so I want to own a piece of the company. I remember
women don't ask us enough.
Yo, I looked at him. He didn't tell me. I was looking at him like, yo, I thought he was bugging. I'm like, are you crazy? Yeah. And they looked at all uncomfortable. He was like, no, because he's like, well, I know how this works. So we just gave you 10,000 people to sign up. You're going to go to your investors and be like, look, we've got 10,000 people signed up and they're going to give you more money and we'll have built your business. Yeah. He said, because how many people did you have before us? 2, 3. He's like, I've been doing my research. You had maybe 2,000, 3,000. We literally tripled your platform.
Yep.
So why should we put any more effort into your company? We won't. He said, because we have 2 companies of our own.
Yeah.
We could just literally put that same effort into our own company.
Yeah.
And they were like, oh. So they created a profit share. They weren't allowed to give us, especially when companies are further along.
Yeah.
So if you catch them early, you can. So they created a profit share that no one else has.
Yeah.
That we're able to, now we've got like, not only do we get paid for each person that signs up, not as much, but we also have a profit share where for each person that invests further, we get a portion of that profit. I never thought that you could own a piece of the company until just last week. A company that we've been sending a ton of people to, they just raised $6 or $10 million in like their Series C or B, right? And they were like, largely because of you, and we want to offer you. Equity in the company. I couldn't believe
That's
it.
Amazing.
I was like, is this real life? Jabril was like, I told you, Tiffany. We didn't even ask them.
That's amazing.
And so I couldn't believe, and then this is a company I believe in so heavily.
Yeah.
But you see all of that, all from me babysitting
Yeah.
and asking my shady ex-boyfriend for $250 for a netbook. So you can scale it. Now it's been slow, like I said, it's 8 years going on 9 years,
Yeah.
And so we're not.
And that's not even that long. Like it's not within a year or two, but like look how much you've accomplished in that amount of time. Where I've seen so many companies who scale so quickly, and they literally burn through or crash and burn after their second, third year.
Yeah, and I didn't want that. I really believe. My dad would always say, "Slow and steady wins the race."
Always.
So for me, I want a legacy long term.
Yeah.
Because when Rachel shared, because I was like, dang, we didn't make as much as I wanted to do this year, and Rachel was like, we're making like 4 times more than we were this time last year. That's crazy,
Yeah.
And she was
That
like,
is
girl,
crazy.
and we went from 4 employees, we have 25 now.
Wow.
In a year. So she was like, so I want, put all this into context that, are we not making as much? Well, that's because we have 25, like 21.
You have to invest, and that's the one thing that people have to learn is that you have to invest in growth, and sometimes when you're investing in growth, it's going to stall how much money you're bringing in. But that long-term gain is why you have to set the foundation.
Exactly, because how can we get to 15 million with 4 people, and knowing that 15 million typically means that we're going to have to bring in way more like people who are going to join our online school or whatever. So who's going to serve them?
Yeah.
So exactly. So these people that we have now, I told them I want to build a foundation for 2,200 or 20,000 square foot house, even though the house right now might only be 2,000 square foot. I want, that's what our foundation is now. Yeah. It's way sturdier than the house we're actually living in, because I want to grow to fill it,
Yeah.
So yeah. But it's possible, Yeah. It is possible. Now, I will say, to be candid, that it's easier because I don't have a company that's creating physical product. That's different, Not that it's impossiable, but it's different because
you still need that capital infusion.
Yes, So typically, I've seen people who are able to do it without, because I don't believe Arsha had. Remember I told you she started her T-shirt line.
Yeah.
To fund her Mambo sauce line, her.
But you have to have something.
Something from somewhere.
Something needs to be the investor.
Yeah, something needs to be the investor.
In any company, you have to have something be the investor. Whether it's you selling, whether it's you crowdsourcing, whether it's you going to an investor, but at least knowing your different options.
Exactly. That's why that in the beginning, doing that quick return on investment is really important.
So important.
Those quick wins are going to be enough to keep you afloat until where you don't need those as much. And then you can play the long game. But in the beginning, unless you have a lot of money sitting, most people can't afford to play the long game.
Exactly. Y'all, I could literally talk to Tiffany for hours. We actually did. Before we even filmed any of this, we talked for probably an hour before we started filming. And she has shit to do because she has like kids and responsibilities. But anyways, if you have any advice on how you're growing your business without investors, make sure to leave a comment below and share the wealth. Why not, girl? And in the meantime, if you love this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up. And if you want to continue to get business advice from other badass women, make sure to subscribe to this channel. But until next time, queens, keep getting shit done.